Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me in this morning's session. My name is Jurgita Andrijauskaite, and I'm the procurement consultant at Wax Digital. And today I'll be covering a couple of subjects around the theme of transforming procurement processes with the next generation technology. So firstly, I'm going to talk about the research that we did with procurement professionals in the field and experts in the wider procurement market to understand what are the key challenges that they are faced with today. And also we asked about, what were the ways that they thought they could address those challenges. And then, secondly, I'm going to go into the future, and we're going to venture out and think about, what procurement technology could be shaping our lives in the next decade. But before I do so, just to kick off, a brief overview of Wax Digital product. So we offer a full integrated source to pay. Starting with analytics, source to contract, savings tracking, supplier management, purchase to pay, and we also have our integrated Connect platform. So that really allows us to, if we need to integrate with the client's back office systems, third-party providers, we can do that. So that's really the full e-procurement cycle, if you like. And really because you're going to hear a lot of presentations today, and I just want to give you three things why we think we are different and what makes Wax Digital different in this market. And that is our capability, in the downstream as well as the upstream capabilities, innovation and integration. So let's just briefly talk about innovation. So in the last year alone, we've extended our quarterly releases across our entire product suite. We have upgraded modules for supplier relationship management and savings tracker. And we have also enhanced our what we call super SaaS capability. So this delivers all the benefits of the software as a service, but in a sort of integrated environment. We've also introduced Power BI, so it's our new procurement reporting module for Microsoft product that we use. And we've also introduced or instigated best practice network, so the platform for clients to share ideas and best practice. But just to set the scene, and to give you a bit of a background as to where I come from. So I spent 8 years in central procurement working for a 7 billion organization. 40,000 employees, 1,000 locations, significant supply chain. But what was also prevalent in that company that it was highly leveraged. So we owed about 2 billion to the banks. And so there was a burning platform for procurement to deliver value and bottom line savings. So when I joined CEVA back in 2008, it was highly decentralized procurement model, which meant every country was disconnected, very fragmented, varying degrees of maturity, no standardized structure, limited e-sourcing. And what we recognized that we needed structure, we needed processes in place, we needed discipline. And so what we set out to do was to transform procurement and introduce a center-led model with integrated and balanced structure. So on that journey between 2008 to 2015, $250 million worth of bottom line savings were delivered as validated by finance. And so through structure, through standardized process and standardized tools. And don't take my word for it. My former CPO is in the audience, so you can ask him if you want. But I think what I want to do is to give you that sense of comfort that, the challenges that we are going to talk about today and some ways to overcome it. We've been in a difficult situation at CEVA, and I can relate to those challenges. So let's just see what procurement professionals, experts in the market, when we spoke with them through in-depth interviews, saw as the most common challenges in procurement today. So one problem being increased supply chain volatility. Then the need for procurement agility. And I'll talk about each point later on, and we'll discuss what procurement agility means. Demonstration of procurement value, lack of efficient supplier management programs, and last but not least, the need to retain, or the increasing difficulty to retain, inspire, and motivate the right talent. So I'll just talk about each of these points now, and give you some idea of what the outcome of these discussions were, and what people said, what they meant by supply chain volatility, and what could they do to address those challenges. So, most of you will agree that we live in an interesting world right now, with Brexit looming and the latest changes in the US politics. This means that we're starting to see greater supply chain volatility and increased demand for resources. So some industries like airlines have already had to face greater volatility, but this could soon, if not already, extend to many different procurement commodities as well. So what does procurement need to do? And one of the points identified was to become more agile. Well, what does agility mean for procurement? Technology can enable teams to be agile, but what we found also was that significance, lies in center-led or centralized procurement functions. So, and I'm not saying here that decentralized is wrong. What we found that the leading organizations that succeed tend to adopt center-led or centralized procurement models, and they tend to centralize their strategic initiatives and delegate their tactical projects. And then the followers tend to be in decentralized procurement functions. But then, you need to probably decide what it is more important for your organization, because decentralized model works really well if you want to have local customer satisfaction, but then it doesn't really allow you to leverage from the highest point. So it's really up to you what it is that is important for you. Is it local customer satisfaction or being able to leverage from the highest point? Then the second problem identified was the need to demonstrate the value for procurement. And, of course, there is a rising thought and idea that, procurement savings is a byproduct of good procurement practice and not just the end in themselves. But the reality is that bottom line savings is still the key metric for so many procurement organizations, and probably it's not going to change very soon. So what procurement teams said they need are more robust processes and automated technology to effectively plan, track, and report procurement achievements, whether it's hard savings, improvements in processes, improvements from innovative supplier arrangements, and so on. So this brings me to another issue identified, which is effective supplier management. And you'll probably all agree that there is a rising expectation for organizations to demonstrate the best value from their suppliers, to cultivate transparent and open supplier relationships, increase collaboration, reduce complexity in supplier information management, supplier KPI, performance management, and so on, and also drive innovative solutions. So in order to drive that, organizations need the right people. And talent retention was again highlighted as one of the struggles that procurement really, the industry struggles today to attract good people, to motivate, inspire, and retain them. So economies of skill, or cultivating economies of skill and not economies of scale. So really it's about, I guess, cultivating the right mindset and behaviors in procurement, attracting people that can question the status quo and say, well, why it is that we need to do this X, Y, Z. And that is, I guess, one of the issues that, it's really, really important. Technology can take us so far, but, I'm representing technology company here, but it is really important. People is the greatest asset, and I truly, truly believe that. And then there is one thing to grasp the scope and impact of the challenges that lie in front of us, but then entirely another is to respond in the right ways. And how many organizations still struggle to use their finance systems, and still so much time goes into extracting and processing information, getting your data from ERP, your finance systems. But with the evolution of iPaaS and what we call the integrating platform as a service, things may change. Because when you think about procurement platforms, they're not finance platforms, they are not back office repositories. They are transactional and collaborative platforms, and therefore they can allow or extend themselves to oversee the entire business value chain. And that's quite exciting. And then, where technology goes, people tend to follow. And repositioning procurement systems in this way could be, maybe even the end of procurement as we know today. And this could evolve into something so much more exciting. So what else can you do to address some of the challenges that prepare yourself for the future that lies ahead? If you want to really transform your procurement practices with the right technology and meet the future. I would really like to share with you some of the really basic principles that we saw worked in my previous organization and what our panel also highlighted as being important. So first of all, assess your current performance, and that means identifying the capabilities, processes, structure, technology that you need in order to achieve success, and also bearing in mind where you are right now. So of course, we can dream of the future and what it is that where we need to be. But I think being honest about our strengths and weaknesses is important if we want to transform and achieve our goals. So again, where you are today, and then obviously aspire to a clear procurement vision. And that means defining goals and opportunities that are most relevant to you as a business and where you are as a function in your maturity cycle. Because what works for one organization does not necessarily work for another, because companies are in different states of maturity cycle. And so, being really honest about what technology do you need right now. Maybe you just don't need the whole suite. Maybe to start off, you need something small, or maybe you're ready for something bigger. So identifying where you need to be and where you want to go. And then, of course, you need to determine how to get there. And I know that delivering a program is the hardest part of transformation. And it requires discipline, structure, the right people who collaborate, and as well as persistence and resilience. Because, a man on top of a mountain didn't just fall there. There are cable cars that can get you from A to B, maybe, with the help of technology, but, there needs to be a significant amount of effort to really, truly transform procurement processes. And then, of course, continuous improvement, because effort will only take you so far, but you also need to measure, how can you get into a state of continuous improvement. And here are some measures that we found worked in my previous organization. So actively asking feedback, establishing platforms for sharing knowledge and best practice, capturing opportunities for improvement, adopting methods for continuous learning, and growing a dedicated expertise that will challenge the status quo. So again, I'm coming back to the importance of people as well as technology. Last but not least, never stop adapting. The vision that you set today may require many course of corrections if it is to be successful several years down the road. So think about that as well. And there is still a universal challenge to be addressed, the behavior change. So there are always those who adopt modern procurement processes and technologies and those who don't, whether it's due to fear of the unknown or resistance to change or whatever it may be. Bad habits die hard. So, but we believe that as technology becomes more widespread, cheaper to deploy, richer in functionality, we really believe that the gap between procurement technology followers and leaders will close in time. And this brings me to our Future Technology 2020 reports. So if you haven't already picked up these reports, you can pick them up from our stand. And really just briefly want to talk to you about the research that we did recently with the, again, procurement professionals in the field, with our clients and experts in the industry. So we asked them not only to think about the here and now, the challenges that they're facing now, but also dive into the future and pick out some common trends from maybe existing trends that we see now, but not in procurement, but how these trends perhaps could be translated in procurement. So we identified 4 visions, and I'll talk you through each at a high level. And as I say, you can pick up these reports and read them later on. Now for a health warning, we challenge our panel to really think ahead. So will these visions be a reality in 3 years? We can't be sure. But the great and fun thing about this is that just by being aware, you'll probably be one step ahead to embrace the possibilities. So vision 1, we call Catalog is Dead, Long Live the Catalog. So around this vision, our expert procurement panel thought that in the future, a one-dimensional, static catalog market is likely to be replaced by a multi-dimensional, layered approach to buying. And so there were 3 trends identified. Our panel predicts a time when procurement technologies will adapt to support spot buying. So, for example, we already see the likes of Amazon and many other retailers out there, very popular, but I don't think we're going to see procurement professionals shopping online like this for their strategic commodities and suppliers. But there still could be significant gains to be made by a more fluid approach to buying. So, for example, when a user searches for a product or a service, a system could determine from the available market data that, hey, the item that you have in your catalog or the price that you have is out of date or is not competitively priced, and therefore I'm giving you a couple of solutions based on your preferences, on your location, environment, and so on. So that's one trend. The second one is e-negotiation. So we're already familiar with the likes of Money Supermarket, Skyscanner, but imagine if you could actually negotiate with these sites for a bulk order, for example. So an example could be that your system could automatically request terms and conditions from your suppliers, and then supplier would throw back a predefined discounts in a form of e-negotiation. And then demand aggregation. So we already see this happening in commodity markets such as energy, where brokers bulk together customer requirements. But this prediction alludes to this extending to other procurement commodities. Then we have Vision 2. And Vision 2 we call Procurement Intelligence Goes Artificial, which means that systems will go beyond informing and processing to predicting, learning, and deciding. And our panel predicted these three trends here. So being able to anticipate and scrutinize demand. So for systems, being able to look at your historic data, for example, look at seasonality, environmental conditions, and ultimately predict customer behavior. And within a business, the systems could also ask, do you really need to buy this? And is this the right supplier? Then the second prediction in Vision 2 is fully personalized user experience. And what that means is the systems could be following users every single mouse click. And also seeing, what are their preferences, what spend categories they usually look at, what their approval requirements are, and things like that. And then intelligence-driven supplier relationships. So this prediction talks about artificial intelligence extending into supplier relationship management. So looking at supplier performance, their KPIs, and also their adherence to contract terms and conditions, and things like that. So around the artificial intelligence, I think some of you may already be down the road to achieve this or to achieve these benefits. But what is certain is that business need for ever improved intelligence and transparency will continue to drive this process in the next decade. Then quickly on to Vision 3, integration without frontiers. And so really this whole vision talks about any-to-any type integration. So our panel believes that there will be no limits to the integration of procurement systems, and alluded to three trends in this particular vision. So supply-side trade integration. And here we're talking about the development of kind of brokerage services that could sit in the cloud and be the integration channels between your systems, your procurement systems, and supplier systems as well. So that would remove the need for suppliers to use many different customer supplier portals. Then beyond all this, systems will also drive complete insight into the business value chain. And the third trend in Vision 3 is the prediction that procurement will use or will be able to use an app-style approach to buying. So I guess this is very likely to happen very soon because there are so many apps for everything these days. But the prediction here is that you'll be able to just have an app that will, you will tell it what it is that you need to know, define your data sources, and the system will tell you the rest. And it's pretty exciting to imagine that this could include any other software, social media, video, voice, and so on. And on to the vision 4. So it's procurement, but not as we know it. And this prediction really is about the vision that procurement systems will evolve just like finance systems evolved into ERP platforms. The difference is that procurement platforms are not back office repositories, and I mentioned that before, and they really lend themselves to overseeing the entire business value chain, because we're looking at transactional processes here, but also collaborative side of things too. So exciting, but you can be assured that you will be armed with the best technology, I guess, come the next decade. But I realize that tomorrow you will be back in your offices and you will be facing your immediate day-to-day challenges. And so I just want you to bring you back to where I started, I guess. And as I said at the very start, that to transform procurement process, you need to have strategy. You need to have structure, you need to have the right people, and you need to have a mandate. And I can tell you now that in the organization that I used to work, we deployed WAX products. And you know, we were able to come to WAX and say where we were in our maturity cycle, and they listened. They were able to listen. They were able to understand where we were and what is it that we were needed to do, and provide a credible solution based on what we needed, that really allowed us and enabled us to deliver value and success. So, as I say, today you will hear many speakers, you will see many slides, but I would urge you to bear in mind that if you talk to a company like WAX, we'll be able to listen to your needs, to be mindful of your state and the way you are as a company, your maturity cycle, and we understand the need to be flexible and versatile and tailor our products to meet your specific goals. So I hope you found the session useful, and if you would like to pick up a copy of the Future 2020 reports, they are available on our stand. You may wonder what this image there is. It's our virtual reality headset. So if you want to visit another planet altogether, you can do so at our stand as well. So you can also get in touch with us via social media. We'll be delighted to see you, hear from you, and continue the conversation. Thank you very much.